Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda. My sister-in-law, Kathleen, has been a tremendous support in my life, and it was she who suggested I share my story with you all. Kathleen and I have always been close, particularly since we worked together before I met my wonderful husband, Larry, through her. I am deeply thankful to Kathleen for playing Cupid, as Larry and I have since built a beautiful life together. However, while Kathleen and Larry are incredible individuals, my relationship with Larry's mother, Grace, has been quite the opposite. From the moment we met, Grace made her disdain for me clear, which introduced a strain in our relationship that even Larry struggled to alleviate. Despite his attempts, Grace's hostility remained unchanged. Over time, the difficulties with Grace became more apparent, especially during our wedding. She wrongfully accused me of damaging her dress, an incident that caused further friction between Larry and me. Grace, being a single mother, has always clung tightly to Larry, complicating his ability to distance himself from her negativity. The situation reached a critical point on our first anniversary. Kathleen, ever the protective sister-in-law, confidentially informed me of Grace's plot to embarrass me publicly. Grace planned to falsely accuse me of stealing a precious family heirloom, a necklace. Despite my efforts to address the situation, Grace was unwavering in her harmful intent. This revelation added another layer of tension to our already fragile relationship. As our anniversary approached, I was torn between the desire to have a peaceful celebration and Larry's wish to include his mother. Grace's potential interference loomed large, threatening to overshadow an otherwise joyful gathering. I hoped to celebrate this milestone surrounded by love and laughter, but the shadow of Grace's scheming weighed heavily on my heart. Though Kathleen had confided in me, I hesitated to tell Larry, believing he needed to see the truth of his mother's actions for himself. On the anniversary day, I remained vigilant, keeping a close watch on Grace, ready to intervene if needed, but thankfully the day passed without incident. I remained vigilant, yet unable to prevent Grace from pulling me aside during the party. As I was refilling my drink, she cornered me, levying a fierce accusation. She claimed I was plotting to take Larry away from her. Her words bewildered me, as they seemed utterly unrelated to our anniversary celebration. Grace vehemently argued that I was the reason Larry was distancing himself from her, her tone dark with ominous threats of the drama she had in store. Kathleen, sensing the brewing storm, stayed by my side, prepared for Grace's disruptive antics. Soon after, Grace excused herself, supposedly to adorn herself with her jewelry, only to return visibly upset, claiming her necklace and earrings were missing. Kathleen and I exchanged glances, realizing Grace was executing her plan to frame me. Despite her convincing display of distress, we kept our calm, watching as she tried to persuade the other guests of my guilt. Amidst the questioning, Grace dramatically paused, then exclaimed, suggesting she suddenly realized her jewelry was stolen, and insinuated I was the thief. "What are you talking about, Mom?" Larry interjected, clearly perplexed. "You probably just misplaced them. It's not like we have strangers here. How could they get stolen?" But Grace pressed, "No, Larry, this isn't a simple case of misplaced jewelry. Nobody broke in, it has to be your wife. She's always admired my jewelry too keenly." The room fell silent, shock evident on everyone's faces as Grace pointed accusingly at me. Larry looked shocked and somewhat embarrassed by his mother's outburst, but his faith in me did not waver. "Mom, that's unfair," he countered firmly. "You're casting baseless accusations at Brenda. She wouldn't ever do such a thing. You must have misplaced it." But Grace persisted, trying to convince Larry of her suspicions, recalling how I had admired her jewelry. Throughout this ordeal, Larry's trust in me remained unshaken, a testament to the strength of our relationship. Despite the tumultuous accusations and the palpable tension, Larry stood by me, reinforcing that no matter his mother's convictions, his belief in my integrity was steadfast. I was stunned by Grace's accusations, especially during our anniversary celebration. "I would never take your jewelry, Grace," I defended myself, shocked that she would think I would steal from her. "When I complimented your necklace, it was just that, a compliment. It doesn't mean I wanted it for myself." Grace retorted sharply, "Larry, my dear, you're blind with love. Can't you see how manipulative your wife is? She's so greedy that she didn't even bother to ask. She just took my jewelry because she wanted it for herself." This sparked a heated argument between Larry and Grace, much to the dismay of our guests who watched the drama unfold with disbelief. It was humiliating to be accused of theft at my anniversary celebration, an event meant to be filled with joy, not conflict. Remaining composed, I addressed Grace firmly. "You have no right to accuse me of such things in my own home. To claim I would stoop to theft is outrageous. I respect myself far too much to engage in the actions you're describing. Don't play the innocent, Brenda. I saw you last night sneaking into my room. You came out behaving suspiciously, which makes perfect sense now," Grace insisted, convinced of her narrative. "Grace, you're making wild accusations without a shred of evidence," I countered. "You have no proof, and it's wrong to tarnish my reputation based on nothing. Who knows what you've done with your jewelry? You can't just blame me. If you think I'm lying, then let's check your room. I am certain we'll find my jewelry there," Grace proposed, her voice filled with conviction. "We have witnesses here. Let's see for ourselves." "Larry, it's inappropriate and disrespectful to invade our privacy on mere suspicions," I protested. "We can't allow your mother to continue this. It's going too far. If we give in now, everyone will doubt my integrity forever." The tension was palpable, and it was clear that something needed to be done to resolve the situation without compromising our privacy or dignity. As difficult as it was, I knew we had to find a way to clear the air and prove my innocence without escalating the conflict further. Being labeled a thief is a serious accusation, one that struck deep during what should have been a celebration. Larry, caught in the middle, was visibly torn between his loyalty to his mother and his trust in me. While he understood his mother's frustration, he also knew the gravity of making such a claim without any proof. Realizing that I needed to clear my name, Larry reluctantly agreed to his mother's demand to search our room. As the group, led by Grace, the instigator of this drama, headed to our bedroom, the tension was palpable. Grace, certain of her accusations, made a beeline for my closet. She rummaged through it and triumphantly held up her jewelry box, exclaiming, "Look, Larry, I found my jewelry in your wife's closet. See, she did steal my things because she's greedy and jealous." "No, this can't be," Larry replied, conflicted yet supportive. "I know my wife. She wouldn't steal from you? I don't understand how your jewelry ended up there. Brenda, you didn't take this, right?" "Of course not, Larry. You know I'm not a thief," I replied, my voice steady despite the chaos. "Oh, really, Brenda? Then explain how my other jewelry set ended up in your closet, too. You can't wiggle your way out of this one." "You should have just confessed and returned my things," Grace accused sharply, her anger apparent. "I'm sorry, Larry, but this is too much. I need to call the police," Grace declared as she began dialing, her actions fueling whispers and shock among the guests. I remained composed, despite the peak humiliation and the harsh whispers spreading through the room. As we waited for the police, Grace continued to berate me, labeling me as a gold digger and asserting to Larry, "This proves it, Larry. I told you Brenda was no good. You need to see the truth and divorce her. No one wants a thief in the family." The situation was nightmarish. As I stood there, maintaining my dignity amid false accusations and waiting for the authorities, I knew this moment would test everything Larry and I had built together. As the reality of the police arriving began to set in, Grace remained steadfast in her decision, convinced that I would be arrested. Larry, however, expressed his doubts. Mom, I don't think calling the police was a wise move. You might not like how this unfolds. What do you mean, Kathleen? Grace snapped, her confidence unwavering. I couldn't just stand by and let Brenda get away with what she did. People who commit crimes need to be held accountable without mercy, or they'll just continue their wrongdoing. I think Kathleen is right, Mom, Larry interjected, trying to ease the tension. Calling the police might backfire on you, but now that you've done it, there's no turning back. How could this possibly turn out worse for me when Brenda is the one who committed a crime? Grace retorted, eager to see justice served. At that moment, despite the gravity of the situation, I couldn't help but laugh. Kathleen, too, smirked and shook her head, knowing something Grace didn't. Everyone else looked at me as if I had lost my mind, standing there supposedly about to be arrested, yet laughing. After I regained my composure, I addressed Grace. You know, Grace, it's fascinating how meticulously you plotted to frame me as a thief. What do you mean? You are the thief. You stole my jewelry, Grace shot back, her face flushed with indignation. Oh, come on, Mom, have some decency, Larry said, frustration coloring his tone. We all know Brenda didn't steal your jewelry. This has been a setup from the start. Kathleen's sudden declaration shocked everyone, including Grace, who momentarily appeared nervous. What are you talking about, Kathleen? I haven't done anything. If anyone's a thief, it's Kathleen, Grace stammered, desperately trying to deflect the blame. Quit the act, Grace. You thought you could frame me and I wouldn't find out? Kathleen already warned me you'd try to accuse me of theft and trap me in your scheme, I said, confronting her directly. This revelation shifted the dynamics of the evening dramatically, as it became clear that Grace had orchestrated a plot, not just against me, but against the trust and harmony of our family. Before the party even began, I had a hint that something was amiss. Grace's accusation during the heated exchange shocked everyone. How dare you suggest that? You're manipulating my child, making her say things without any proof. Mom, we might not have had concrete proof before that you were setting this up, but now we have a way to prove what happened, I calmly retorted, the urgency of clearing my name growing stronger. Grace, flustered, demanded, What are you talking about, Brenda? What proof could you possibly have? Her panic was palpable when I mentioned our home security system. Did you forget that our house is equipped with cameras? The color drained from Grace's face, her confident demeanor faltering as she realized her oversight. Perhaps she had assumed the cameras were only outside, not inside where her actions could have been recorded. Larry, catching on, added, That's right, even I had forgotten about the cameras. We have them installed in the hallways, which offer a clear view of every room from the outside. We can review the footage to see the truth. Why would we need to check the cameras, Larry? I'm your mother, and I'm telling you Brenda took from me. We shouldn't need to prove anything else. Grace tried to dissuade him, her voice tinged with desperation. No, Mom, I thought you wanted to get to the bottom of this, Larry responded, his resolve firm. I don't believe for a second that Brenda is a thief, and if you're so sure, we should look at the footage together. I need to see for myself that what you're claiming is true. Otherwise, I can't believe it. Despite Grace's best efforts to prevent it, I pulled up the saved footage on my phone. The room tensed as everyone prepared to watch the events as they had been recorded, ready to uncover the truth that Grace had tried so desperately to manipulate. As we sifted through the security footage, the situation escalated with the arrival of the police. They were quickly briefed by the gathered crowd, but Grace wasted no time in approaching them, pointing a finger at me. Officers, you need to arrest my daughter-in-law, Brenda. She's a criminal who stole my jewelry. We found it in her closet. You need to arrest her now. However, I was prepared to defend myself. I don't think so, Grace, I interjected, turning to the officers. I have proof that my mother-in-law set me up and is making false claims against me. Do you have solid evidence against your mother-in-law? One officer asked. Yes, I do, I replied confidently. My home is equipped with security cameras. Here is the footage from yesterday. I handed my phone to the officers, who began reviewing the video. Larry and the others watched as well. The footage clearly showed Grace taking her jewelry box from her room and entering mine when I was not at home. Moments later, she emerged without the box, confirming she had deliberately placed it in my closet to frame me. The revelation shocked everyone, especially Larry, who turned to his mother with a mix of anger and disbelief. "Mom, how could you do this? Brenda has been nothing but kind to you, and you backstab her like this? What is wrong with you?" Grace, now fearful and tearful under her son's stern gaze, attempted to explain herself. "Larry, please, let me explain." "No, just no." Larry cut her off sharply. "I don't want to hear it, Mom. I'm done. I'm so done with how you tried to destroy my wife's life and reputation on our anniversary. I will never forgive you for that. I seriously cannot believe how low you stooped. I'm ashamed to have a mother like you. I don't think I want any contact with you from now on." As Larry declared his decision, Kathleen nodded in agreement, her earlier warnings validated by the unfolding drama. The police, having seen the evidence, realized the accusation against me was unfounded, further solidifying my innocence in this painful family ordeal. Hearing my decision, Grace's desperation reached a peak. Tears streamed down her face as she clutched at Larry's arm, pleading with him and Kathleen for forgiveness. Her cries echoed through the room, laden with regret and fear. The guests, mostly family members who knew the history and dynamics well, were unsympathetic. They shook their heads in disbelief at Grace's actions, openly criticizing her without holding back. Not a single person stood by her, reflecting the collective disappointment in her deceit. The police, having witnessed the entire ordeal, turned to me. "Ma'am, are you aware that you can file a formal complaint against your mother-in-law for making these false accusations?" "Yes, I am aware, officer. Thank you for the reminder," I responded, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on my mind. "Would you like to proceed with pressing charges? It seems prudent under the circumstances. We can take her into custody and clear this matter up for you," one officer suggested. "Yes, please, I'd like to press charges," I confirmed, seeking to put an end to the turmoil. "I'm sorry for the drama this has caused everyone tonight." "Larry, are you okay with this?" I asked, looking for his reassurance. "Brenda, what Mom did was wrong. You have my full support," he affirmed, his voice steady and supportive. The scene escalated quickly as the officers approached Grace to handcuff her. She resisted, her emotional state deteriorating as she begged Larry, Kathleen, and even me for forgiveness. "Brenda, please don't do this. I'm your mother-in-law. What will people think if they see me getting arrested?" Her pleas fell on deaf ears as I remembered her earlier willingness to see me in a similar situation. "You didn't care about public opinion when you called the police on me. Why should I care now? I'm justified in having you arrested after what you've done." The police warned her about resisting arrest, but Grace was beyond consolation, her cries filling the room as she faced the consequences of her actions. The family watched a mixture of relief and sadness in their eyes, knowing this was a necessary step toward restoring peace and trust. "I'm sorry, Brenda. I shouldn't have done this. Look, we're family. We can solve this ourselves. There's no need to involve the police now," Grace pleaded, her voice trembling with desperation. However, her previous words echoed in my mind, stark against her current plea for leniency. "Grace, you once said that criminals should not be spared because they might become worse. Seeing how you could easily become a menace to society, I feel it's my duty as a concerned citizen to ensure you face the consequences of your actions," I replied, mirroring her logic back to her. Grace looked utterly shocked as I repeated her earlier statement to her. She continued to cry and mumble apologies, but her words did little to sway the mood of the room. The guests murmured their disapproval, and the police efficiently moved to take her into custody. Larry and I accompanied them to the police station to file a formal report, while Kathleen stayed back to look after the guests and manage the fallout from the evening's events. At the station, as I prepared to officially document the incident, I knew this step was necessary, but I also needed to be sure Larry was fully supportive, given the gravity of the situation. "Larry, are you sure you're okay with this? If you're uncomfortable with filing a report, we can still decide otherwise," I offered, giving him a chance to reconsider. "No, Brenda, we're not going back on this. We need to file the report," Larry firmly responded. "I failed to protect you from my mother's actions. She was about to ruin your life, and I can't just overlook that. You know I never doubted you for a second, right?" "I know, Larry, it's not your fault your mom acted this way. It's entirely on her," I reassured him, understanding the complex emotions he was wrestling with. Larry felt a profound sense of guilt for not having shielded me earlier. He loved his mother deeply, making the reality of her actions even more painful. It's never easy to accept that someone so integral to your life could cause such harm. Nonetheless, he gave me his full support to proceed with the report, acknowledging that it was the necessary step to protect our future and ensure such behavior could not go unchecked. Following through with my decision, Larry also made a firm commitment to keep Grace out of our lives permanently. Understanding the strain recent events had placed on our relationship, we agreed to start couples counseling to strengthen our bond and better manage our marriage dynamics. Despite the earlier upheaval, Larry and I returned to our anniversary party. The food was ready, our friends and family were gathered, and there was a general sense of support all around us. We saw no reason to let one person's actions spoil our celebration. After all, it was our anniversary. We decided to continue with the festivities, and we truly enjoyed ourselves. Kathleen, too, had a wonderful time amidst the renewed joy and laughter. Meanwhile, Grace, my mother-in-law, was dealing with the consequences of her actions in jail. Ultimately, she chose not to let the case go to trial and agreed to a settlement through my lawyer. I received a substantial sum in compensation, while Grace managed to avoid a court case. I hope this experience prompts her to reflect on her behavior. That said, our contact with her has ended. Larry, Kathleen, and I, along with several other family members, have cut ties completely. Some family members have chosen not to block her immediately, perhaps wary of her potential to cause further discord. Since distancing ourselves from Grace, my marriage with Larry has significantly improved. The couple's counseling has been beneficial, helping us to navigate our relationship with greater understanding and teamwork. We're now expecting our first child, and we plan to keep our new family safe and distant from any negative influences, ensuring Grace has no involvement in our child's life. This decision has brought peace and a new sense of stability as we look forward to this exciting chapter together.